Hi, and welcome back to the Possum Stamps Christmas card making series. Today I'm excited to bring you an elegant Christmas card with a background that's sure to wow your friends using the new Deck the Halls Christmas ornament stamp set. Here's a look at this stamp set. There are 7 different ornaments in this set, so many to choose from. A beautiful greenery swag, 2 hangers, and then some sentiments. I chose to use the Just Sentiments Christmas, which is packed full of all of the sentiments that you're going to need for your Christmas card making this season. I'll be using the Joy to the World sentiment. I'm excited to say that there are 2 stencils available now in the Possum Stamp store. This one is called Snowflake Flurries and is going to help me add just a little bit more pizzazz to this background. I have Nuvo Shimmer Moonstone Paste, which is a translucent glitter paste. Of course, I have my Gonzai Tombi Starry watercolors. And finally, I'm going to use many sprays from the Ranger line. I have Distress Oxide in Festive Berries and Salvage Patina. New to the line and limited edition, I have the Mica Stains. I have Snowflake Flurries, Juniper Mist. This is Holly Branch. I'm going to bring in Tree Lot. I show the bubbling calderon right here, but I don't end up using it. And finally, I have the Crooked Broomstick. Come on, let's start creating our card. I do have an A2 size panel. I'm going to spray my mica stains onto my glass mat. I've listed the colors on the screen. I'm spritzing my panel with water as well as the stains that are on my glass mat. I started on the outer edge and I'm doing some ink smushing. So I went around the edge and then I added the color to the center. I did dry in between because when you're layering with mica stains, you want to make sure that you do dry them in between so that you don't get muddy messes. And I'm adding Salvaged Patina Distress Oxide spray. I did not spritz my panel. I didn't want any of that mica stain to move, and so I just spritzed the distress stain with water and swiped my panel through, and that was adding just a little bit more of that beautiful teal onto this panel. That wasn't enough for me though. I am going to use my Gonzai Tombi watercolors. This time I am not going to splatter, but I am actually going to create some veins in my panel. So I added the water to the watercolors and then I placed it on my glass mat. I spritzed it with a little bit of water, and as you could see, I smushed my panel into that gold watercolor, and look at how beautiful that background is. But that's not enough glimmery goodness. No, we're going to use that beautiful Snowflake Flurry stencil that I told you about, and we're going to add the Shimmer Moonstone stain. Now I am going to use my palette knife to add that to my panel, and then once I finish with this, I'll clean off all of the excess. I want to save as much as I can because I love this paste, and I'll take my stencil over to the sink, wash that, my palette knife off. I do set this aside to dry, and here is a look at it all dried. Look at that beauty. I just think that this is so pretty and so elegant. I have a die in my stash that will actually cut out kind of a diamond pattern, and so I am going to cut on the left and the right sides, which is what I'm showing you. I will be left with a diamond that I can actually use on another card, but today I'm just going to add some 1/4 inch foam tape to the back of each of these panels, and I'm going to attach it to a side folding 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base. As you can see, I do have a blue card base. I thought that it complemented the colors that this background had. So I'm going to match them up as best I can, and you see that beautiful diamond. That's going to give a place for one of my ornaments to be popped up and rest as well as my sentiment. Here I have the swag piece, and I'm going to do a little bit of heat embossing. I do just have a scrap piece of paper. There are dies available for this stamp set. I don't happen to have them, so I will be using my Brother Scan and Cut to cut out my images. As I said, I did use some Versamark ink, and I used some gold embossing powder. I'm going to melt that powder with my heat tool. I do let my heat tool heat up for about 30 seconds before I bring it to my paper. We're going to use that mica stain again, and we are going to color in our images. So this swag, I'm going to use the holly branch to start with the holly appropriately. And once I finish coloring this in, I am going to move on to, I think I use Tree Lot is the next color that I use, but we'll get there in just a minute. So here I'm adding just a little bit of the watercolor. When I go forward, I'm actually right there. I'm dipping my brush in water, so I am adding water to the mica stain. You can see the first holly leaf, I did end up going direct to paper, and it was just a little darker than what I wanted. I think it adds a nice contrast that all of my holly leaves aren't the same color, but I did want to add a little bit more water to this. So here I've added, I believe I said the Tree Lot, and then I'm going to add a little bit of salvaged patina, and we're going to mix the Tree Lot and the salvaged patina for our third color. This is super quick and easy watercoloring. This is actually just a piece of accent opaque cardstock. I didn't even use watercolor for this. What you can't see is that I did shake up these mica spray stains. So at the bottom, the mica tends to settle. I shake my bottle side to side to mix up that mica spray. At the very end of this video, I'm going to give you a good look at the shimmer that I actually got from painting with these stains. So that's one of the benefits, is that it's going to allow me to have a little bit more sparkle and shine on this card, which always makes my heart very happy. I'm going to take this over to my Brother Scan and Cut, and I am going to cut this out, and then we're going to adhere this swag to the top of our card. So here's a look. Look at how beautiful that background is. Because I have that Nuvo glimmer paste, I am going to need to use double-sided tape because it's going to adhere much better than a wet glue is going to that glimmer paste. So I've added this to the top, and I'm going to use my long scissors to trim off any of the excess, and we're going to use that same accent opaque paper to color in our ornaments. I chose 3 of my favorites. I really love the elegance of this stamp set. I think that it just adds something different to the Possum Stamps line, and I love the different shapes and styles. So I think that it's kind of unique compared to some of the other sets that I've seen that are ornaments, because we have several of the long ones. That one on the right reminds me of a dreidel. I just think that the drawing on this is absolutely beautiful. So again, I did do some heat embossing with that same gold embossing powder, and I'm going to use the same colors I've been using to color in my ornaments. I'm starting with the salvaged patina, and then I'm going to bring in the festive berries. I did add a little bit of water to that just to thin it out a little bit. Now I do want to mention that when you're using the Distress Oxides to color with, you are going to get a more muted tone. One thing that I thought about doing was adding glossy accents to this, but then I remembered that these are water-based products, and I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to smear my paint, so I decided against it, and I decided just to let the embossing add that little bit of glitter, and then I'm going to bring in a little bit of mica stain, and that'll add a little bit more of that glitter to these ornaments as well. If you decided to Copic color these, then certainly you would be able to add some glossy accents over the top, or maybe use a Wink of Stella pen to add a little bit more of that glittery goodness to your project. Here's that crooked broomstick. This is the first time that I'm using it. It is kind of like a brass color, and I thought that it went perfect with the composition that we'd created. So I'm going to color in this particular ornament is going to have the most of that crooked broomstick. If you haven't subscribed to the Possum Stamps YouTube channel, we would absolutely love for you to subscribe and ring the bell so that you're notified whenever we do upload a video. We have had some amazing creators on the channel this month. There is tons of inspiration. If you haven't subscribed to the blog, there is a link in the description box as well to the blog. We have a ton of bloggers. Instagram, if you head over to Instagram, there's lots of inspiration there. Possum Stamps really does a good job of trying to show you so many different ways to use their amazing products. Here's the salvage patina again. As you saw on that dreidel looking ornament, I did use that juniper mist. And then when I was wiping off the ornament, what I was doing was just getting that shine back. So I was getting any paint off of the embossing that I had created, and I wanted to make sure that that gold really was shining through. I'm going to finish up with these holly leaves on this ornament using the juniper mist. I'll add the festive berries to the berries appropriately, and then I'll finish up the top of the center ornament with more of that crooked broomstick and a little bit of the festive berries. I do take this over to my brother's Scan and Cut. As you can see at the very top of this ornament, there are some circles. I did want to mention that the dies, one of the things that I do appreciate, and I noticed about those that do have the dies and are using them, is that it does cut the hole in the center of the ornament, which is very helpful. I am going to string mine with some gold thread. I did use a crocodile, I think it's called, that has kind of like a little hole punch in it, and I punched my own holes, but I just thought that I would mention how wonderful the detail was in the dies that are available for this particular stamp set. Here is my sentiment. As I said, it does read Joy to the World. I'm going to use my anti-static tool, and I'm also using some Versamark ink. I'll bring that gold embossing powder in again to go over the top of it, and I'll melt it again with my heat tool. Then I'm going to start hanging my little ornaments. Now, it did take me a little bit to figure out how exactly I wanted to hang these. I am going to make one a little bit shorter. This one, of course, is popped up with foam tape, and I've made sure that the string is a little bit shorter. If you didn't notice, I only used one piece of the double-sided tape for my swag, and that was because I wanted to make sure that I was able to tuck these ornament strings underneath. So I'm using my art glitter glue. I really want the tension to be tight, and so I'm going to fiddle with especially this middle one a little bit. I'm going to figure out where exactly I want it to be. The string tends to loosen up just a little bit, and finally I'll be able to get it perfectly straight and where I'm happy with it. Again, because I do have that Nuvo shimmer paste on my panel, I am going to use some double-sided tape on the outside ornaments, and I'm going to hang this one on the right side. I'm going to pull this all the way through, and then I'm just going to snip off the edge once I get this straight. And then I'm going to fiddle with the one on the left, and that's going to complete my card for today. So I hope this gave you another idea of how to use these beautiful Deck the Hall ornaments, stamps. I think that if you are into elegant cards like I am, I really love cute cards, but I think that there are some people in my life that just appreciate more of an elegant style, that this Deck the Halls stamp set is the perfect stamp set for your Christmas card making. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to show you a little bit of that sparkle and shine, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.